Hey everyone, Adam Christantella from Move Aware, back again with another mindfulness strategy. And today we're going to talk about why. Why? More specifically, we're going to talk about why we do anything that we do. And this is something that's been percolating in my head because the CrossFit Open has started, and that's part of, if you're not familiar with the CrossFit Games, the Open is part of the process. It's like, think about like semifinals or quarterfinals. It's part of that process to get to the big games, and it's an awesome opportunity for a bunch of people to challenge themselves all across the world. All right, so it's a pretty cool thing, and I think that there's some really awesome lessons in there. You know, we talk about the deep stuff, the why, and so we'll reflect on that a little bit more once we start getting into this. So, first of all, back to that original why, the big question. Why do we do anything and everything that we do? So this is a pretty important question that you should ask yourself as often as possible. I would like to assume that the reason why you do anything that you do is in some way you feel that it will create happiness or fulfillment. Right? I think that would be the ultimate goal. It's a pretty safe assumption that we all want to be content, stable, happy, our highest potential. So, however, I would say a lot of people, we focus on the result, the outcome. So we say, hey, you know, why do you want to do that? Well, I would like to achieve a certain health outcome, or I would like to get a certain raise in my career, whatever that is. And so we focus on that result as being a direct connection to our happiness. Now, while oftentimes it does connect, it doesn't always, it's not like this linear relationship where it's going to just keep going like, oh, the heavier I go my deadlift, the happier my life gets. I think at a certain point, things start to go the other way. And so you have the law of diminishing returns that can play an effect in here. So, hey, if I want this amount, if I want to create this result, it takes this much effort. If I want to make this result, now I'm using that much effort to get there. And when you start to get in there, unless that's your greatest purpose in life, you're going to start to detract from some really important pieces to your life that are part of this fulfillment equation. It's something I talk about in my workshops, and understanding that balance, that you need to focus on certain points and parts at one time in your life, but you may have to back off at certain times. So it's all about balance in that point. So what ends up happening a lot of times is we have a result or an action that creates a certain feeling. Now I'm going to differentiate happiness and fulfillment. Yes, these are feelings, but I'm going to say this is a temporary state and this is a stable, perpetuating state. That means that if I take what created this feeling is that I'm still happy and fulfilled. So people love donuts, right? And you know who you are. Not that donuts are bad, but if I take away donuts, can you still be happy and fulfilled? I'd say like, yeah, totally. But if you did that, should really still be, would there be some resentment towards that? Would you feel like you're depriving yourself? Instead of exchanging for a better outcome or health result that could lead to that, are you just going for a temporary state, a fix, if you will? Now, donut lovers, don't worry, I'm not just pointing on you, I'm going to point on everyone. I'm going to say people that do exercise, this could be you. People that do drugs, this could be you. Sex, could be you. And, you know, so like sex and drugs, I think are kind of like, oh, those are taboo, there's a stigma attached to them. Like, yeah, we could see those, but like, exercise? I don't get it. Career? Wait a second. Family? Nah, dude, that's part of they're part of that. But if you're covering up something else in your life, because you don't want to deal with it, or you want to address it, you don't want to take responsibility for it and make that change that is going to give you closer to that, then in essence, it could be escaping. And, you know, it could be a horrible way to think about it, or maybe not a feel-good feeling when you think about like, hey, I could be using some of these good things that are like society has told me that this is a good habit to have or a good thing to have, to actually escape from the reality of my life. And that the reality is that maybe I'm not as happy as I really want to be. So now we're getting deep. Now we're getting deep. But that's the idea of Move Aware, is to create insight, understanding that motivates you instead of me having to say like, you could do it, you're good enough all the time. Like sometimes you just gotta look at your shit and go from there. So none of these are good or bad. It just depends. So let's go to exercise, talking about the CrossFit Games and the CrossFit Open. Exercise is something that I don't think people respect as deeply as they need to, and that the potential good as well as the harm that it can do. So this is all coming from my experience as a coach, and this is sport performance and CrossFit stuff, as an affiliate co-owner, and as an athlete and individual myself. You know, all of this stuff I'm talking about is I didn't stumble upon it. I stumbled through it. So I had to go through a lot of this shit, and I'm just trying to keep you from making the same mistakes if you don't have to. You know, sometimes you have to. That's life. So back to exercise. Something I see, especially in CrossFit communities, because there's this excellent and wonderful community that can push you to do amazing things, but peer pressure goes both ways. And we start to reinforce, wow, I got this PR, I did this awesome thing, and everyone liked me. And I felt good about myself. And then instead of chasing that fulfillment, we start to chase a feeling, a temporary state. And this builds a strong sense of the ego. And so what happens when you go a month and you didn't PR, or maybe you actually went down in weight? Now that could be, you could perceive that, especially if you have this strong building of like, hey, exercise is what makes me feel good because others are giving me validation. You could have some big issues there. So you might put yourself in a dangerous situation. You may push to something that is maybe just outside your skill level. It could also be exactly what you need to build into this happiness fulfillment. So just keep that in mind. I know for me, I've had plenty of clients where they come in and they injure themselves and they don't want to slow down. So exercise is no longer something that builds health to them. It's something now that reduces suffering in their life. And exercise is an excellent antidepressant, excellent mood stabilizer, excellent mood lifter. But if you got a bunch of stuff in your life that's not going the way you want to, and you're just trying to escape with exercise, food, reading, intellect, family, religion, whatever that is, you can use those things in a very enlightened and intentive way, or you can escape. So, in summary, what I'm really looking for you to do is to just start asking why. That's it. Dan John has a great quote of, keep the goal the goal. So we walk into the gym, when we start a career, we start these things, we had a certain goal in mind. And sometimes we get compulsive with a number, an outcome, and we assume erroneously that, hey, I made this much money, I got this much happier. If I make this much money, I'm going to get this much happier. Well, after a while, you just end up taking away from other areas of your life that are really important to this picture here, and you're not getting the same return. So, hopefully, you can draw upon this, ask some deep questions of yourself, and get some really good benefit, and just start to approach things not necessarily differently, but in an aware way that is in alignment with this, not just some feeling that is gone. Thank you, be well, and enjoy the moment.